Now, a lot of dating happens these days with alcohol in a nightclub or with alcohol at maybe dinner or at a bar. Is there a better place to conduct a first date? And if so, why?
Well, first of all, alcohol distorts everything. Drugs distort everything. You know, there's a reason they say intoxicated, toxic. Alcohol is toxic. So it shuts down certain parts of the brain, shuts down to some degree your ability to judge, your ability to sense, your reflexes, your intuition. All that stuff is shut down to some degree. And so, wow, she's really hot. I'm going to go for her. You know, you're not picking up that, you know, she's wearing a wedding ring. She's sitting with a man who has a matching wedding. You know, you're not picking up all that stuff. So probably a coffee shop is nice where we met.
Yeah. Well, I think it needs to be a context that is not evaluative. You know, I think it has to be some kind of relaxed context where you're just kind of getting to know one another. And seeing what it's like to meet this person. So it's the judgment that makes it tense and uncomfortable. And so people need alcohol to get relaxed. And of course, then they're, you know, or they get high and they're laughing at everything and nothing. And there's no connection. There's no real connection. So the evaluative context is kind of like the antidote to love. You have an evaluative context. You know, you're trying to be at your best. The other person's trying to be at their best. But, you know, there's no real interest in one another.
When you say evaluative context, it means that we're evaluating each other. It's really, really overtly clear.
It's judgment.
It's like an interview, basically.
Yeah, it's like a job interview.
Interesting.
Never going to work.
Is there a certain age where if you get together with someone, you're more likely to be successful? I was talking to my friend about this actually this weekend because he is approaching 40 and his partner is significantly younger. It's my friend that lives in America, in New York. And he was telling me that because she's sort of 23, he's struggling a little bit because he wants to settle down and he wants to think about kids now. And she's still trying to figure out life. So it made me wonder if maybe he should be aiming at people that are at least at that sort of 30 age where you start, you know, I don't know if there's any research to...
You know, I don't know about the research, but what I've seen clinically is that people who date others that are very, very different in age from them have a problem, typically. Because, first of all, the social history in which they were raised is different, right? So, for example, John and I, though we're not the same age, we're about 9 years apart, but we both went through Vietnam. We both went through all the assassinations in the U.S.
Civil rights movement.
The civil rights movement. You know, I got arrested. He didn't. I was unlucky, you know, in the protesting stuff. But that context, you know, understanding a period of history that you grew up in is really important. And also internally, in the sense that there are really phases of development that you go through as you get older. And you're absolutely right, Stephen, in that a 40-year-old who wants to now settle down, create a home, create a family, and a 23-year-old are incredibly different developmentally. So their goals will be different. Their values will be different. If you will, their maturity will be different. Their interests also may be strikingly different. There may be a real difference in valuing commitment, you know, and so on. So I've seen relationships work with that kind of disparate age, but typically that can happen more easily when you're older, when you've already created your identity, you've already identified what profession or line of work you want to do, whether or not you want to have kids, or if you've already had kids, and so on. So like a 40-year-old and a 50-year-old or 55-year-old would be very different than a 40-year-old and a 23-year-old.
Good enough relationships. Should I be looking for because this goes back to what I was saying earlier about, looking for the one, looking for your Julie, or should I be looking for a relationship that is good enough, and then try and build it to be a great relationship? Because there's a lot of people that are maybe over 30 years old, over 40
Right.
years old, who are single, struggling to find someone that's great. And so their friends or their partners or, the people around them are saying, just, that person's good enough. That person's good enough. Just, give them a chance and go on the date. And
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that point of view, because when you're looking for the perfect relationship that's good in every dimension, you're going to be disappointed. And I think it makes some sense to look for what's good enough. And so, what's good enough for one person is not the same as what's good enough for another person. I know, what's good enough for me is having somebody you can really trust and really feel a sense of commitment toward. And those two dimensions are absolutely critical.
is that did you have non-negotiables, both of you? Was there anything on your list of things that were mandatory in finding your partner?
Yeah, for me, it was wanting children.
So that's a non-negotiable for you.
Yes.
Was there anything else that was non-negotiable?
Monogamy
Okay. Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Sense of humor was really important. I think another thing too is, do you get bored talking to them or not? Or are they continually interesting to you? But I think one of the most important things is, how do they make you feel about yourself? Not just, you're attracted to them or whatever, but how do they make you feel about yourself? If they make you feel dumb or unkind or too needy or whatever, not cool. On the other hand, if they make you feel like the most gorgeous thing in the world and the most brilliant person in the world, etc., and you're not, that's not it either. So do they recognize you? It's almost like that. Do they recognize you in your fullness of humanity? And, that takes time, of course. You have to get to know one another. But let's see. Non-negotiables.
I know very quickly, I think we both realized that whenever we spend time together, it's always interesting and fun.
That's true.
Talking over anything is really...
That's true. And everything that you said, everything that came out of your mouth was so friggin' fascinating. I knew I would be learning from him the rest of my life.
Yeah, I felt the same way about you. And a road trip was an opportunity. It was really,
right.
A time to talk about our dreams and our hopes about the world. And yeah.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.